Hey, what is up guys? And welcome to Should You Play Fallout 4? It's a video I know a lot of you have been waiting for, and I'm sorry it's taken as long as it has, but Fallout 4 is such a big game, and in all honesty I've been so busy I just haven't had as much of a chance as I would like to actually get going. But we're here now. There's two things worth stressing before we begin. Firstly, I have very limited experience in the Fallout franchise, which means I'll be reviewing this, or I should say, giving my impressions of the game more as an open world game rather than a Fallout game. Secondly, is that I have played about 9 hours or so of this game, so yeah, bear in mind that this is more of a extended expressions, definitely not, more of an extended impressions based video. But here we are. So Fallout 4, the world is beautiful. There's no two ways to say that. Well, there's loads of ways to say that actually, but I'll make no bones about it. This is a truly epic game when it comes to, it looks as if a bomb's gone off, because guess what, it's meant to look like a bomb's gone off. And just look around, just look how nice that looks. The draw distances and everything like that, if you set it to ultra, are really, really good. And despite the game feeling a little bit dated, overall I have to say that is a very good looking game. That's not to say it's perfect though. There's definitely quite a few areas, especially if you go first person mode inside. I'll show you now where textures and things just look a bit rubbish. That actually looks alright. But yeah, you can see some of the texture works. Not absolutely fantastic, but that's not really what Fallout's ever been about. And while I don't have that much experience with the franchise, I know that it's never been a game to really push the boundaries of what's capable on hardware. But I suppose we probably should talk about the PC version. Settings and stuff like that, that's all done through the initial menu before you boot up the game. So you can't change them sort of mid-game. But there's loads of them. You can change absolutely everything. You can change the draw distance, textures, FXAA, anti-aliasing. There's loads. There's too many to list. And I found that if you do want to scale it back on lesser hardware, so I was testing it on a GTX 960M as well as a GTX 980 and a AMD R9 Fury, I had a good experience no matter what the system was, I have to say. It's been quite good, and it scales quite well, but I would say people with lower end hardware are probably going to be happier than those with high end hardware, because although it is beautiful, ramping up the settings doesn't necessarily make the game look as good as some other games. And if you certainly compare this game, probably quite unfairly, to The Witcher 3, obviously it just can't compete, and The Witcher 3 absolutely blows this game away for sure, for effects and visual fidelity and things like that. But in terms of atmosphere, it definitely feels really, really nice, and I've definitely enjoyed roaming the streets and the wastelands, and that's probably what I've done more than anything else, is just going around and exploring. It really does look very, very good. There are a few settings you can change though, but they're not really going to make any difference to performance or anything like that. It's more just sort of your preferences, like you can see here. You can completely change colours and things like that. Audio settings, you can change everything, so you just have the voice or whatever you want. Controls, you can... Oh, you can... Oh dear. That's alright, there we go. You can remap controller, that's quite cool, I didn't know you could do that. But you can pretty much do everything you need to do. I've been using a controller rather than a mouse and keyboard, but you can obviously use a mouse and keyboard, although when I did try and use it, I found that the controller just felt more comfortable for me. But I do play most third-person games with a controller. If you want to use this on an ultra-wide monitor, you're kind of half out of luck because the game doesn't natively support it. But if you go into the INI files, you can change stuff, which is quite cool. It doesn't work as well as I would like, but it certainly gets the job done. And on a FreeSync monitor as well, I've had a great time with just general performance. If you do go into a big city area, then you're going to obviously run into a few issues in terms of frame rate, but as long as you're aware of that, you can set your settings accordingly. In terms of the mechanics, we have the very big open world. You can see I haven't explored all that much of it, but there's plenty of stuff to do. Quests are obviously your main port of call, so you can find these as you go along, or you can sort of follow a storyline, and the main story is quite interesting. Haven't got too far in it yet, but it seems like it's going to be quite interesting. In terms of other stuff, you are inventory, I probably should mention. It just feels a little bit clunky, in all honesty. It doesn't feel... I think it should be easier to sort of know what weapons and stuff you've got and how much they're worth. I don't know. It just feels it's a bit difficult to maintain and organise, because you see you have so many things. While you can sort them, it just feels like it would almost should be a better way of doing it. But it's all controlled, like you can see on the Pip-Boy, and that looks quite cool. So as you go through, you can customise all this stuff. And there's actually a mobile app as well to do the same, which is quite cool. Or if you have the Pip-Boy that you can actually put on your arm, then you can get the most authentic experience. But I'm not really sure too many people are going to do that. In terms of your leveling up, you level up here, and we go into the perk chart. You can see you've got your main stats here, special stats, then you've got perks and stuff as well, and there are loads of them, so it's going to take you a long time to get through them. There's loads, so it's definitely going to take you a while, and the game is definitely going to reward you the more time you put in. I think that's the most important thing to note. You've also got a few radio stations as well. And you can pick up missions from here. But right now we're just going to go and investigate what's happening over here. I think there's a recon team's gone lost. I've got a experiment that happened. Oh dear, there's a big robot there. I need to run because I actually died shortly before doing this video. I need to get out of there quick. Speaking of quick save, done. This is on an SSD, but even if you're on a hard drive, I don't think it's going to set you back very far. It's nice and easy. Combat-wise, you can do third person or fourth person or first person. Your companion also fights at the moment. Oh dear, I've got Cosworth, the robot, but you can also have a dog that you find at the very beginning of the game. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think absolutely everyone knew there was a dog in the game, so yeah, and they all do different things, and you can pick up more companions as you progress through the game. I quite like Cosworth though, because he actually talks to you and makes comments and stuff, and your companion will basically sort of react to the things you do, and some will like it, some will like things you do and some won't. So yeah, classic sort of Bethesda sort of style there. Right, let's progress. Frame rate actually seems to be dropping a little bit here because we've just got into a city. This is literally running at max settings at 1080p though, so that's not too much of a concern. There's a synth soldier somewhere. Where was he? I need to go over here though. Oh dear, oh dear. Being attacked, being attacked. Careful. Even with a controller, I find the game nice and easy to control though, and you can quick save as well in combat, which some may think is cheating, but I just find it makes it a lot more fun because you spend less time worrying about doing a hard bit and more time worrying about just exploring and finding out what's going on. Oh, that accuracy is good. That's really good accuracy there. Well, he's dead. Right, I'm wounded. Because I don't have any stim packs, you'll see that's actually quite difficult to heal yourself. You've got to go into aid, and then you've got to find stuff to eat. Let's see what's going to be good. Mole rat chunks. There you go, that'll do. There you go, now I've got full health. Job done. Obviously you get radiation depending on stuff you eat or places you go, because there's been a nuclear bomb that's gone off. Surprise, surprise. So yeah, combat feels quite nice and tight, but it definitely doesn't feel brilliant. I mean, if you compare it to a proper first-person shooter or third-person shooter, it's definitely not as good as either. And it never really gets much past getting the job done, while it's not really changed that much from the other Fallout games, from what I can tell. Generally speaking, it does the job. It doesn't hinder the game, but it would be, if there was really amazing mechanics, I think it would definitely be that much better. When you think, let's go back to The Witcher, the combat in that game has been nicely refined. Some people had a few issues with the combat in The Witcher 2, but The Witcher 3 came along and completely sort of improved everything. And actually is really good combat that's really fun to play. So it is a shame that they didn't find a way to sort of improve it, and we go here, that's a sniper rifle, definitely don't want that. Oh dear. I'm gonna die. No, I might be alright. Might be alright. Might be alright. I'm definitely not gonna be alright, am I? Oh dear. No, I'm definitely not alright. Go back to that quick save. So yeah, I guess I just somehow just make it feel nicer to play. I guess. I mean, while the gun handling's fine, it just feels that. It just feels fine. I'm not really sure how they would make it better. I guess it's one of those things you just have to feel. If you play a game like something like Call of Duty or Battlefield, they've both got its own unique style, but it's both been sort of well executed and perfected over the iterations. So yeah, third-person shooting actually feels nicer. But if you go into like a tight corner or something, like I'll demonstrate here, it kind of, I don't know, just in a tight space, it just doesn't feel as nice. But yeah, that's the combat, and it's pretty good, but it is not really anything to shout home about. That's what happens when you do these videos and you don't have much to drink. Come on. Yeah, no, I'm just not doing very well there. So let's go first person. There we go, sorted. So yeah, that's the combat anyway. So we talked about quests and stuff. The story seems quite good so far. Menus maybe a little bit clunky. The world feels really nice. But my general sort of feeling about the game is that I guess it feels really, really immersive, but it just generally just feels a bit dated. I mean, I was just talking about the combat system that hasn't really been improved over the sort of generations. But just generally, I guess it feels more like a PlayStation 3 game on PC. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you think just as the next generation consoles were launched, we had quite a lot of games that looked a lot better on the PC than they did on consoles, but you could still see that they had almost been limited in the sense that I can't find what I want. There you go, that'll do. It just felt like they'd been held back a little bit, and it just seems almost like it's a slightly wasted opportunity that they couldn't have done more to actually improve the combat and just generally the world and the engine. It just feels a little bit old, a little bit dated, and while the experience itself makes up for that and the level of immersion is really, really good, I don't know, it's just, if you look at them side by side, two open world games, the general gameplay mechanics in The Witcher are much, much better. And some people might say you cannot compare those two games. Don't be ridiculous. But you've got to remember, if you take your sort of emotional Fallout, your Fallout history and emotions out of the equation, I think most people would admit that Fallout 4 could have been better. Now, that's not to say it's not a good game, because it really is. I'm really enjoying playing it. I'm going to play it some more. But it almost feels like it just could have been a little bit better. And while that's certainly enough, the game is more than enough for most people. It's going to keep you amused for a very long time. There's so much stuff to do. It's such a good value for money in terms of sort of game time per pound or per dollar. And maybe they didn't need to improve things. I guess that's it. They didn't need to do it. They didn't need to push things further. I mean, we could say the same about a lot of Bethesda games. I mean, they just don't need to sort of have the best gameplay mechanics, and they don't need to have the best graphics and things like that. I mean, it's definitely better in the sense that I'd rather have it that way round than something like Crysis 3, which is technically an absolute masterpiece and runs amazingly well, even though it's really hard to run, and the graphics are absolutely amazing and things like that. But ultimately, it's just a bit of a bland game. This is basically just the other end of the spectrum. It's a game that really has your sort of emotions going, because everything feels like it's got so much polish on it. But it's just feels a little bit dated, which I think is a bit of a shame. But overall, I definitely think people are not going to be too disappointed with it. And especially if you're a Fallout fan, I'm sure it's just more of the same, really, just slightly improved. But it's not going to make the most out of your PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, in my opinion. It may well look better than Fallout New Vegas did, but I don't think it's sort of a class leader anyway. So yeah, I guess it's time for the sort of wrap up really, and to answer the question, should you play Fallout 4? And I guess actually I pretty much have just answered it. I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed in their purchase, because unless you've got some really low end sort of graphics cards, you're probably going to be able to run it. And even if you've got some really nice high-end hardware, you're still going to be able to crank up all the settings and things like that. And while it won't be as rewarding as if you do the same on other games, it still is a very good-looking game, especially once you get outside. In terms of gameplay, it's very enjoyable. There's no doubt about that. The gameplay mechanics, they're not the most advanced, but they work. You know, they're nice and robust. There's quite a few flaws that sort of come through. Things like the FOV you can't seem to change either without, I don't know if you can do it in the INI files, but like right now it feels really cramped even on, I'm playing on quite a small window, but technically yeah, it's not a masterpiece, but it's certainly going to be enough for most people. But the main thing is that it's a really fun game to play, and that's the most important thing for people. It's a fun game in a very large open world that you're going to be able to play for quite a long time, and everyone that I've seen playing it and all my friends have racked up many more hours than I have. We're talking 20, 30, 40 hours, and that just goes to show really. It shows that basically the execution is a lot better than its sort of technical ability, but it's a shame they couldn't merge the two together. Maybe a little bit more. I've got to do charisma because I'm not very good at persuading at the moment, so I need to change that. So yeah, I guess really that pretty much is the conclusion. Should you play Fallout 4? If you have absolutely any interest in the Fallout series, then you are not going to be disappointed in terms of sheer gameplay. It's only if you only want to play a game that's going to push your system to the max and just generally be a really technical masterpiece, or if you want a multiplayer game, that I would say maybe it's worth buying something else. But if you want a nice, deep, immersive single player experience, then this is certainly a good option. And when you think at the moment you've got a choice between, say, this and the unreleased Just Cause 3 for a single player game, I think I can see why a lot of people are probably going to go for this, just because I guess it's tried and tested formula, people like it, there's not too much reason to change it, and if they had done it would have been risky, but personally I like to see a company that takes risk. So that has been Should You Play Fallout 4? I hope it's been useful, and I hope it's been worth the wait. If it hasn't, then let me know in the comments and leave a dislike. But if it has, please like this video and let others know it's a video worth watching, whether that's by sharing it or leaving a comment or whatever it is you want to do. In terms of other game reviews, we've got the Just Cause 3 review coming out after the game has launched, as well as the much more recent Star Wars Battlefront multiplayer extravaganza, a review coming later in this week. If you want to know about how well the monitor I'm using coped with this game and other games, and you want to see a full review of G-Sync versus FreeSync, then stay tuned, because that is coming very, very soon, and I have to say, I think it's going to be an interesting video. So, thank you so much for checking out this video once again. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already for more videos like this. And I will see you in the next one.